Have you ever considered that getting shot could make you happier? It sounds wild, right? But that's the unexpected journey we're taking in this deep dive into Happy Brain by Ishman Brown. This book isn't your typical self help guide. Ishman uses his own experience of getting caught in a drive by shooting as a springboard to explore the science of happiness, specifically focusing on those powerful chemicals in our brains: dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin, and serotonin. And get this, he actually credits the shooting with helping him unlock a happier and more fulfilling life. I know, it's a lot to process, but trust me, this is where it gets really interesting.
What Ishmael does so brilliantly is weave together these complex scientific concepts with his own incredibly personal and often humorous story. It's not just about understanding the chemicals themselves, but how they play out in our real lives, even in the most unexpected circumstances.
Right, it's like he's taking us on this wild adventure, but along the way, he's dropping these incredible insights about how our brains work. And the best part is, he makes it relatable. Like, we're all familiar with that feeling of wanting more out of life, right? That yearning for something beyond the everyday. Well, for Isman, that feeling was amplified after the shooting. He realized that life is short and he was determined to make the most of it. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's back up a bit and break down these happiness chemicals, shall we?
Absolutely. And I think a great place to start is with dopamine, often called the feel good molecule. It's what motivates us to seek out rewards, whether it's acing that presentation at work or finally landing that perfect parking spot.
Okay, so dopamine is all about the pursuit of pleasure, right? Like that anticipation we feel when we're about to do something exciting.
Exactly. And it's a powerful force in our life, even if we don't realize it. Think about it. Dopamine is what drives us to learn, to achieve, to connect with others. It's wired into our biology.
So, how does this tie back to Ishman's story? I mean, he didn't exactly get shot because of dopamine, did he? Although, come to think about it, he does talk about how he almost didn't go to that party where he got shot. He was tired, had work the next day, all that. But something made him go. What was it like, this pull he felt?
He mentions wanting to add another notch to his belt, which even back then he recognized was him just chasing a feeling. And that's classic dopamine, that drive to seek new experiences, to push boundaries, even if there's a part of us that knows we should probably just stay home and watch Netflix.
So, in a way, you could say that dopamine played a role in him being at that party, which then led to this whole chain of events.
It's not about placing blame on a brain chemical, of course, but it's about recognizing how these invisible forces shape our choices, our actions, and ultimately our destinies. And that's what makes Ishwan's story so powerful. By understanding how dopamine influenced his decisions, even those that led to a near death experience, we can start to understand our own dopamine driven behaviors.
And hopefully make more conscious choices as a result. It's like we're not just at the mercy of these chemicals, we can learn to work with them, right?
Exactly. And that's where things get really exciting because by understanding the science of happiness, we can start to hack the system, so to speak. We can make choices that lead to greater well being, greater fulfillment. But we'll delve more into that a bit later. For now, let's stick with Ishman's story, shall we?
Let's. I'm ready to hear what happened after the dopamine pulled him into that party.
Well, as you can imagine, things took a dramatic turn. And that's where another happiness chemical enters the scene: endorphins.
Endorphins. Those are the ones we usually associate with exercise, right? Like runner's high and all that. What do they have to do with getting shot? Okay, so endorphins. They're the pain busting, mood boosting chemicals, right? The ones we usually associate with a good workout. So, how do they play into Ishman's story?
Well, endorphins are fascinating because they're our body's natural defense mechanism, you know, against pain and stress. They're like, think of them like internal morphine. They kick in during really intense situations to help us cope.
So, in Ishman's case, are you saying when he got shot, like his brain was basically flooded with endorphins?
Exactly. He describes this, he describes feeling this searing pain, like being stabbed with a fiery knife. But then, almost instantly, this wave of tingling warmth kind of washed over him. It's almost paradoxical when you think about it.
Yeah.
Intense pain leading to a sense of euphoria.
It's like how some people describe adrenaline junkies, right?
Yeah.
That rush they get from like doing something risky or dangerous.
There's definitely a connection there, though it's important to differentiate between endorphins and adrenaline. Adrenaline is more about that immediate fight or flight response, right? While endorphins provide that longer lasting pain relief and mood elevation.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So in a way, endorphins were helping Ishman get through that initial trauma, both like physically and emotionally.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Ishman is a naturally funny guy. Even while like being carted off in the ambulance, he was cracking jokes. He even points out the irony of wearing a "Don't Be a Pussy" T-shirt
What?
with a picture of a cat on it. Well, being wheeled into the ER.
Okay, that's hilarious. But I mean, what does humor have to do with endorphins?
Well, it turns out that laughter triggers the release of endorphins. It's like
Mm.
our bodies are hardwired to find humor, even in difficult situations, as a way to kind of like cope and boost our mood.
So, by cracking jokes and finding humor in that situation, Ishman was actually helping his body heal and recover.
Exactly. And this isn't just a quirky anecdote. There's a growing body of research showing the powerful long term benefits of humor, for dealing with stress, trauma, and even physical pain.
That's incredible. It's like they say, laughter is the best medicine. Right. So, we've got dopamine pushing Ishman toward new experiences, endorphins helping him through this crisis. What comes next?
After the initial shock of the shooting wore off, Ishman found himself surrounded by friends and family, who rallied around him. And that's where another fascinating happiness chemical comes into play:
Yeah.
oxytocin.
Ah, oxytocin, the cuddle hormone. Okay, I think I'm starting to see where this is going. Okay, so we talked about dopamine, that drive for reward, and endorphins, like our body's natural painkillers. Then oxytocin, the bonding hormone, right? But where does serotonin fit into all of this? The confidence and satisfaction molecule, right?
Right.
How does that play into Ishman's story?
Wow, serotonin. It's often associated with feelings of, well-being, contentment, and even a sense of purpose. And for Ishman, it played a crucial role in his recovery and transformation.
So I'm sensing like serotonin is the I've got this chemical. Am I right? It's like the thing that gives you that extra boost of confidence
Yeah.
to overcome challenges and really go after your dreams.
You got it. Serotonin is all about self-respect, self-esteem, and a belief in our own capabilities. And as Ishman started to heal physically and emotionally, he really began to tap into this wellspring of serotonin.
Mhm.
He says, "My brush with death gave me a new outlook on life. I was forced to realize a vital truth. Everyone dies, regardless if they realize their true potential."
Wow. Yeah, that's heavy. But it sounds like he found a new sense of purpose in all of this, almost like a fire was lit under him.
That's a great way to put it. Remember, we talked about like, his yearning for more out of life, even before the shooting. Well, after the shooting, that feeling was just amplified. He realized that life is too short to play it safe, right? So he decided to make a big change. He packed his bags, moved to a city that was a hub for music, his passion.
Wow. That takes guts. I mean, he's still recovering from this major injury and he's taking on a new challenge in a new environment. This
Yeah.
is where serotonin really shines.
Absolutely. He talks about auditioning for this prestigious music program, surrounded by incredibly talented people. And he was still on crutches. Imagine the courage that took to put yourself out there knowing you're facing an uphill battle.
He even describes how he used his crutches in his dance audition. He turned this potential obstacle, this symbol of his trauma, into something creative, something empowering, right? He embraced his challenges and really turned them into opportunities.
That's the essence of serotonin. It's about finding a sense of accomplishment, overcoming challenges, and using them to grow and learn. Ishman took what could have been a devastating experience and turned it into a springboard for personal growth and artistic expression.
That's truly inspiring. So, we've learned a lot about these four happiness chemicals: dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin, and serotonin. And we've seen how they played out in Ishman's story, even in the most unexpected ways.
And what's truly remarkable is that Ishman's story, it's not just about one man's journey, it's a universal story. It's about the human experience, about our capacity for resilience, for growth, for finding joy, even in the face of adversity.
So, if we were to leave our listeners with one lasting thought from this deep dive, what would it be? What's the one thing you hope they'll take away from Ishman's story and our conversation?
You have a remarkable machine. In your head, you have access to all of these incredible chemicals that can help you thrive. So, if a near death experience can lead to a fulfilling life, what's holding you back from pursuing your passions and embracing the randomness of life? Listen to your happy chemicals, pay attention to what they're telling you, and most importantly, use them to create a life that feels meaningful, joyful, and authentically your own.
I love that. It's a reminder that we all have the potential for happiness and fulfillment, and it starts with understanding those powerful chemicals within us. So go forth and be happy.